So, I would like to talk about personal growth and a very specific example of how it feels before and after. And my whole personal growth is about detaching from inherited ideas, like all the shoulds in my head. I haven't heard about anyone doing this in such a dedicated way as I do. I did it basically intuitive. I'm doing it intuitively. And I started doing it intuitively. I just felt the need to heal the pain, frankly, the discomfort of different life situations. And one thing led to another. I just realized that it helps. And I never stopped until I, again, intuitively felt that I can go through life more easily. It's like the road has cleared. I can move forward even if it causes me some type of discomfort. And one of the example, let's say it's financial pressure, that I wanted to talk about today. I still feel the discomfort, but I feel it very differently from what it was before. And if I had to describe it, it would probably be, I feel the discomfort of the situation. However, first of all, the choices that I make are made consciously, because I don't have those ideas pressuring me. I'm not going against myself. So if I make a choice, let's say, to go in debt and use that money for certain things, I never know where I end up. I never know how things turned out. I never know. I cannot guarantee the outcome. No one can. But at least I'm making that step. I'm making that choice consciously, and I feel adult responsibility for it. So it just is. It may not be comfortable. So discomfort is there. Let's say debt is not the most pleasant thing. And frankly, what's interesting, it's somatic. I think I feel it more like a pressure in my body. But the fear is not present because I'm not choosing from fear. That was a choice that felt like an investment in my future. So before I detached from all the shoulds and all the ideas, like most of the shoulds, not all. Again, I keep in a way, I keep generalizing and saying, like I detach from all of those, and I feel no fear. Those things are relative in comparison to what was. So compared to how I felt before, how I felt torn apart between choices, I couldn't move forward. So I had a very very prominent, very strong feeling of my next step, like this is something that I probably need to do. But also I had all the restrictions, well, basically fears around that step. Oh, what if I need that money? What if things don't work out? What if I create this project and it fails? What if those people will hate me for this thing, this post or this photography or whatever that I do, or this video? So I always had those ideas, questioning myself, and fearful ideas, basically. And as I detached from them, why it feels like I detached from most of them, because now I'm like, okay, so this is something new that I'm trying. This is something new that I'm doing. And yes, it creates some tension of a new thing. I don't know how things turn out. Let's say if tomorrow I decide out of the blue to go to some event that I've never been to, there is still this kind of possibility that, well, not even possibility that things will, that I won't like that event or whatever. It's more like I cannot know what happens there, right? So if I've never been to a soccer game, if I go, I may like it, I may hate it. But anyway, in my case, I will learn something about myself. I will learn something that I like, or I will learn something that I don't like, or I may meet someone who will help me move forward in some other way, not necessarily doing anything for me, but maybe contributing to my thought, to my ideas, whatever. Could be anything. So detaching from ideas that create this noise and constant chatter in my mind helps me actually accept the responsibility of the unknown. Like I feel the pull towards that next step, going to some place, or like last year, let's say, investing in a whole library of books for research, investing in podcasting gear, investing in photography gear, all of those things. I needed those things. However, do I still have a guarantee that guarantee of the return, financial return from this? It's not about that. It's about something that I'm building. It's about something that is important for me. It's about something that feels right to do, even though do I have an amazingly great example of a philosopher who does body photography and they survived in this world? No, I don't have that, but it just feels right. It feels like something that I'm aligned to. That's it. However, any action like that and I think this is something that people like who go into spirituality, they expect something else. They expect that if things are aligned, it will be absolutely easy and no discomfort at all. So it's not true. That discomfort is just different. Through my life, I had debts, credit card debts, not anything drastic. I think currently I'm in I owe the biggest amount that I ever owed. But I used to have debts. And they always felt uncomfortable, heavy, like the weight on my soul. They still do. However, previously, I also had all the fears and all the ideas, all that mental chatter attached to it. And that was like pure chaos, to be honest. I always doubted myself. It's like I constantly questioned myself and hated myself for that decision, even though I still made it. So instead of just accepting the fact, okay, I make a decision to, let's say, borrow that money, and I'm okay with that decision. Like, I'm paying it off gradually, it's all fine. Instead of that feeling, which I actually have now, I had something very different, like constant it's like the decision process never ended. It was constant back and forth, constant doubt mixed with a lot of pain, and blame turned towards myself, like I don't have to. My parents taught me not to do that. Some friends may judge me. Oh, there are other friends who are more successful and they don't have that situation. Like all of those ideas, they were pressuring me. It was deeply uncomfortable. Now, I don't have fears and I don't have ideas pressuring me. Am I 100% sure that I will be absolutely fine? I cannot know that technically, like practically, I cannot know that. So tomorrow something may happen and I will be screwed, which is it is a possibility. And another thing that's interesting is that somatically, money feels different. So I'm really good in self-awareness and monitoring how things feel in my body, how things feel through time, through change, through the change of my perception. And with money, it's very physical. I remember when I just stepped into a debt, and so I took a certain amount to buy photo gear, to buy, so first it was library, the first part of it. The second part was all the gear that I needed for podcasting and for photography. So I immediately felt that almost physical pressure and urgency to do something about it, and frankly, deep anxiety attached to a feeling that it's like walking a thin line. It's like being at the edge of something. So very physical feeling that one wrong move and I'll be done. And again, I think it's more of a personal perception rather than actual risk, because even though this is the biggest debt that I ever had. It's not more, like, it's equal to what I have in investments and savings. So technically, I'm not betraying myself. Like, technically, I'm not setting myself up for a failure. Like, for sure. Technically, it's manageable. Technically, it's fine. However, I remember how I lost sleep for a while, even though this decision was a choice. And I thought about it like it was a very conscious choice. It wasn't reasonable again, so it was really hard for me to allow myself to step into, to allow, to not to have an excuse of not having resources, like I don't have money to do it, I don't have time to do it. So all of those excuses that people normally have, and I have had all of my life, not to do something that you feel is yours to do. And obviously there is a certain group of people called entrepreneurs. They do risk it. They borrow money and they risk it, and they build something. But I think everyone, like most of other people, like average people who go to their 9 to 5, this is exactly what's stopping them. It is the thought that I don't have money, I don't have time. And for me personally, I think it took me quite a few years to work through, to detach from those ideas. And practically, when I started working specifically with this practice of detachment from ideas, that took me like about a year, like a couple of years, 3 years in total, until I saw results. But previously, I spent years and years in fear, actually like decades, I would say, knowing that I have this pull towards photography. I had an idea about photography for more than 15 years, I guess. But it was never reasonable enough for me to actually pursue it and to start doing it. And I had many, many signals about it. I was jealous of photographers who were successful. I was jealous of any type of photographers who were just doing the things that they love. I was rejecting photography. I couldn't take pictures of myself because I was so I don't know, critical of everything. So a lot of things were attached to, a lot of fears were in the mix affecting me. And of course, the fact that I have 9 to 5, that I don't have time. So those were layers and layers of work when I allowed myself to experiment and try things that I like, I'm interested in doing, to allocate time. And that was a first, let's say, wave of panic for me. How dare I, let's say, prioritize something that I care about rather than something that other people want me to do. And then there was the next layer of like financial layer. And that And financial layer, allowing myself to borrow money to get on this path, start learning, have the gear without any guarantees. So like I'm betting on it, I'm paying money, I am in debt, things may happen, I may not succeed, I may not follow through, I may not become that photographer or philosopher, but I already owe that money, and the situation life becomes riskier for me. Going through that feeling was a bit challenging. Well, it was challenging. But now, as I'm paying off my debts, and I'm doing it aggressively, and I see the progress, and I think now I owe less than a half of the amount that I owed in April. And I just paid a substantial chunk of it, so I have 2 months to be debt free if everything goes according to plan. Obviously things may happen, but again, I love the progress. It's only 2 months. And feeling that progress, what still surprises me is how somatic money feels. So as I click the button to pay off this month's part, it's like 20% of darkness and weight alleviated from my soul is just gone. And this life became a little more lighter, more colors, more space for breathing. And I cannot say that I struggle. I cannot say that I'm just devastated. Obviously not. I don't think about it all the time. But what I actually think about is people who are in deep financial struggle. I had moments in my life when I don't know how to label it, honestly. So when my grandmother was dying and I couldn't find a job for months, and I was running out of money, and I have someone who's dying and may need help, and I was responsible for her financially too, and I only had money for another week of food, and that's it. So I know that feeling, but that was a very brief moment. A very brief moment that made me believe in God eventually. But people live with that pressure. People live with this darkness and heaviness. And why I think my experience is important, why it's important for my philosophy, why it's important for my research. First of all, I am, through my personal experience, I'm just discovering how perception of the world, like detaching from ideas, historical ideas, all the shoulds, how it changes perception, and how that perception affects action. So basically I'm free to act and make choices and trust that choices. And I'm obviously observing because because I cannot guarantee the outcome. This is an experiment that I'm conducting on myself. I cannot know what happens next, right? So I'm just observing how it feels. I'm just observing the progress, and this is the part, like those videos are the part of documenting this progress and also sharing it, because I think it would be deeply unfair to go through this completely private and they say, hey, I made it, I'm good, and I think these moments like today, like feeling how resolving some part of financial pressure feels in my body right here, right now, this moment, reflecting on what was, how it felt before, and doing it like along the way, not necessarily when everything is resolved, specifically not when I am financially stable. I hope I'll get there. I'm getting there. That's the goal, to get everything in order and to be debt free and to be organized, etc., etc. However, now is the riskiest part of this journey, and sharing it now, it's important for me for documenting reasons and for realness, because I think it's fair. However, I still care about people who are in deep trouble, and I'm thinking how what I know about life and this thing that I learned detaching from my own, from beliefs, from shoulds, how this could practically help others. Because in my case, I feel like I've always been the lucky one. I have just enough. I may, like, in any life situation, be it abuse or financial struggle, what normally people go through, wars, mental health situation, anything in life, I had a certain amount of experience, but it's like I'm walking right at the edge of the thing. So I have the experience, but I'm not falling off a cliff with anything. So it's kind of, non-consensually. I had non-consensual intimacy, and I had an experience of how it feels. I learned from it, but I've never been through horrors of some women go through. I was almost broke, like I had money for the next week, but still I managed to, miracle happened, frankly. So I have quite a few of those almost experiences. Like with war, I missed the signs, when I missed the intuition that told me very explicitly, leave. But I still was lucky enough to immediately find someone who helped me get out of the country as the war in Ukraine started. So with that, I do realize that I never stay in deep trouble. Maybe it was slightly different when I was a kid and then when I was dependent and I couldn't leave, and I probably stayed in an uncomfortable and let's say, no, I don't want to put any label on it, but in situations that I would prefer not to be in. But I definitely did not have any experience of how deep the prolonged exposure to, let's say, poverty or trauma, how deep it cuts into a person and how hard it is to restore from that. That's what I'm curious about. And again, I'm deeply grateful to life so that I can, that I have some experience of how things feel. But I have it gently and safely. And it gives me some idea, it gives me humility, it gives me direction of my interest to then go buy books and learn about the extreme cases through books or through talking to people and learning about things, not necessarily experiencing them, because my end goal is to figure out how to support people and how to support people on any level. I think it's way, way, way easier to think about growth, any type of growth, when you have food on your table and roof over your head. It's absolutely easier. However, not everyone feels this way. So I do realize that people who are stable in their life, and by stable I mean they do have food and they do have roof over their head, they're still in this hamster wheel of fear. And from their perception, it may not feel easier. And even for billionaires, it may not feel easier because they have another hamster wheel, another attachment to what they want, what they own, whatever. So perception is very different from reality. But I'm thinking, I cannot stop myself from thinking about people who have a reality. Objectively harsh situation. I think part of my answer is that for those who don't have food and resources, everything that I do is irrelevant, so they have to be restored and supported by us, people who have stuff in their lives. I think that is the answer, is the most obvious answer. But still, thinking about prolonged exposure to trauma, this is happening. It happens everywhere, basically. Any type of survivor of any type of crime, especially from like prisoners of war, PTSD of any type. It's a heavy thought. I think I went a little bit too far in this reflection, to the point that I don't have full answers. I think I was trying to process a thought. How do I help everyone and anyone and everyone? I don't have capacity to do that or resources to do that. And frankly, at this point, the only reason why I would like to have more resources, finances, is to be able to do more, to be able to build something for others, some type of support system, whatever that means. And that could be on many and every level. I have plans. I have plans to build things. However, I need to get there first, and to, like anything, like with any pain and trauma, there is the lowest moment when you need just to get back to zero, to, I wouldn't even call it normal state, but just getting out of the depth of pain or whatever, or dead, like going from minus to zero in whatever we do. And then we're growing up. I did that with healing and with how life felt, from deepest pain to apparently not feeling fearful when moving through life, learning how to move through life and discern things, not through fear but through conscious choice. And I'm glad to know that I still feel things, they just feel differently. And that's another thing that I occasionally get. So some people see spiritual growth, and again, I'm not labeling what I do as purely spiritual growth. I think it's just human growth, human evolution, and it happens on every level. The growth, one-sided growth, is not anything that I would like to vote for or promote or do. So growth happens on many levels, but when people discuss spiritual growth, they have this image or idea of a monk or just people who doesn't worry about anything, who is chill, and they are, some see it as even happy, being always blissful, and not having any worries in life. And I had a conversation with the old friend of mine a while ago, like let's say a decade ago, and he told me that he doesn't want to grow too much, which is interesting attitude. Not to be numb, not to become the person who doesn't feel things. So his fear was that he would lose this flavor of life, and he described it as ups and downs. And what was correct in his idea of how things may happen, and I didn't know it back then, I was just on this path, whatever happens, I was like, okay, I just feel like crap and I don't want to feel like crap. That's my goal. This is why I'm changing my life and doing everything and anything that I can. So if I'm chill, so be it. We'll see how it goes. So I wasn't worried about that. But apparently some people are worried that they will lose all the flavor and all the joy in life. And now from this perspective, I do acknowledge that life doesn't have these ups and downs. Most specifically because I don't have fears and this excruciatingly painful moments. I just don't have them. I have this more of a physical pressure, like this example with money. So some things, some discomfort of new choice or of just objective life challenge. Let's say I don't have, like I forgot to pay the bills and I have to pay them, or I have some, I don't know, paperwork, something that I'm not happy about. I feel it still. I feel it more like a pressure. But it doesn't break my heart. It doesn't do anything. I just resolve it. I'm like, okay, and it doesn't feel too great. But for me, it's more like a task. Oh, it's just another task. Okay. I don't have to be happy about it, but I can figure it out. It may take me a while, but I will figure it out. But I also don't feel those high moments. And that concerned me to a certain degree. And I partially have that question. For example, how would love feel? Love, like romantic, like how would feel a connection to someone who is my life partner. And I know how love feels for my friends and people around me, but I have that feeling in me constantly. Not every second, but it's familiar, it's there. But how do I choose a person if I don't feel this heightened adoration and admiration and excitement, and oh my God, is that person? I'm going to die. Oh my God, I cannot live without that person. I don't fucking feel that anymore. And thank God. But I don't know how would I feel so that I know that is the person. I have a tiny bit of an idea what could be a differentiator, how that would be different from the love on a general level, the baseline love that I feel towards people. I have an idea how that could feel, but I have no idea. Probably I will know when I meet them. If I meet them, no guarantee that would happen, but yeah, I'm curious. So it's not a roller coaster anymore, and that, like, my friend got that part right. But I'm not numb. I feel things, and frankly, I feel more nuanced. I feel life in more flavors and more colors. I feel it's like sensitivity is different to life and the flow of life, and something that we can call intuition or inner knowing. It's sharper, and it gives very clear signals. And frankly, it's way, way more beneficial than any roller coaster, emotional roller coaster that I had before. It's like if I feel things, first of all, I have the variety, like I have more variety of a feeling. Like I said, more flavors, more colors, as a metaphor to how it actually feels. But those things are also practical. They give me information. They give me information about myself, about the direction that I'm going to, that is better for me to go. Those are signals that something is off, and the clearer the signal, the more it gives me, with time and with clarity that I gain, it gives me more and more precise information. So it's way, way better than just ups and downs that are just, frankly, both are uncomfortable and destabilizing. I just pronounced this word weirdly. It just rocks the boat. Ups and downs, they are not productive. They were not productive. Excitement blocked my perception. If I was too excited about things, it just stopped me from just got in the way of critical assessment, critical perception, discernment. It just led me just blindly and frankly not to the most beneficial situations. And the same with pain. It was really hard to think clearly. Now everything that I feel is actually an information. It has always been, though. Those ups and downs is information too, and I started working with that information. But now I like it more. I like it way, way, way more. So my friend wasn't quite right about this. And again, I'm not saying that I'm enlightened or anything. I'm curious. Frankly, I'm curious about enlightenment for those who actually believe in it. But I'll get to that later. That's a whole another topic. But today, what I wanted is to describe in the moment how things feel. And that financial pressure is very real, even in situations like mine when I consciously made that choice. And it's interesting.